Welcome back to the Reality Report, your home for independent news unspoiled from corporate influence. Yesterday, we had the chance to talk with Republic Magazine publisher George Shepard. George Shepard, publisher of Republic Magazine. The new issue is just out, issue 18, The Rise and Fall of America. The North American Union issue. Operation Sovereign Guardian has been initiated. George, tell us about what you're seeing on your end down in Florida.
We're seeing a lot of people ordering the magazines right now, and this is kind of the ramp up that we've had to previous initiatives where we need to get these things in people's hands, activists' hands, and have it ready to be able to distribute it out amongst the different communities. So we're seeing thousands of magazines going out right now. Orders are coming in, and we're kind of gearing up for the main pushes, and that's where we're going to start working with people on the street side to make sure that they get this information into as many people's hands and into places that get high traffic like beauty salons, barber shops, mechanic shops, so that this information stays out there for as long as possible and we can have as much penetration into the American populace as we can.
Now tell me a little bit about the North American Union. Why so significant? I mean, I know that Republic Magazine is, of course, I'm the managing editor, but you know, we put together issues that revolve around specific topics. You know, you and I both play a role in putting these things together. But you technically you had a very strong hand in this specific issue. Tell us a little bit why you chose the North American Union for this one.
Well, Gary, as you know, there's a lot of problems right now in the country, and whether it's socialized health care, whether it's you know, the illegal federal income tax, I mean, it just the list goes on and on. And what I've been seeing is on the backside, knowing a lot of different things, sometimes it helps and sometimes it hurts. But understanding what the possibilities are and seeing how the shift towards a one continental government, which would be this North American Union, really is accelerating these subjects. I can't tell if it's you know, the cart before the horse, if the North American Union is supposed to come before these changes till we lose our national sovereignty and we go into a situation where we have this borderless economy where everyone gets free health care and there's no illegal immigration, anything like that anymore, or if it's going the other way around. But I see two of them as being kind of two peas in a pod, six of one and half dozen of the other. So this is something that we have to stop. And anyone that knows anything about border security knows that they have never tried to shore up the borders. They've never built the fence. They try to give amnesty to these illegal immigrants where they come down from Canada, Mexico. They come in from other countries. I used to, when I went to college up in Boston, a lot of my friends from overseas in Europe, they would just come here and stay. And there was plenty of work. You know, they'd work as valets and good people, but it just shows you how, like, there is no policing of this. And with our economy right now sinking to where it is, there's so many difficulties with the job situation. Americans that have been here for their entire lives, or people that have gone through the immigration process properly, are being penalized for those that can get in here, get on a boat, cross by, you know, any means, but they're getting in here and they're sucking up the jobs. They're screwing up our economy. They're jumping into making the healthcare system the worst things possible. Tort reform, there've been a lot of talks about that. You know what? The biggest problem with things like in California as far as insurance, why the insurance raises, is because there's so many illegals driving on the road. You get in an accident with illegal, guess what? There's no coverage. So you have to make sure that you have full coverage on your cars, and that just increases everything. So that's one of the reasons why we need to get this North American Union stopped and just educate the populace right now so that they know what's coming down the pipe. It's one thing to have heard about something and see things happening, but these things happen so slowly. It's like turning up the fire on a frog when it's in a pot of boiling water. You don't ever boil the frog, otherwise it'll try to jump out. But you turn it up slowly, it'll cook itself from the inside, and the frog will ever know it. And that's exactly what's happening to Americans right now. They're turning up the fire slowly so we don't feel it.
You know, George, I did a quick search online to find out, you know, what websites, what groups are standing behind Operation Sovereign Guardian, and quite a few actually. Roach1958.wordpress.com, freepatriotpress.com, britanniaradio.blogspot.com, clareswhitney.wordpress, Kid Mercury blog, deprogram.net, AmericanTowns.com, that's a new one I haven't heard of yet, and Intercedar.net. So, you know, the operation has clearly taken root, and what I'm anxious to see are the videos that people send in of themselves actually taking action, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. You know, it's about waking up the American people to this North American Union. I mean, you said it yourself. Is this a stepping stone to a globalist economy, a global world government? I absolutely believe it is. You know, in some cases, I wonder if they're going to even skip this whole thing altogether and jump right into the world currency. They've already been talking about it. Now, one thing that I think needs to be mentioned too is the subject of the Amero. Can you shed any light on that for us?
Well, actually, that's interesting that you bring that up. I personally see with what's happening in our economy, it's the quickest way to get to a borderless economy and then a borderless nation, and then against, we talk about this world global governments, is to destroy the economies of the three countries that we're discussing right now, Canada, Mexico, and the United States. We know the Mexican economy's been destroyed for a long time. If you look at the difference in the pricing for stuff that, like, for example, go to the newsstand and you look at the U.S. price and the Canadian price for stuff, a lot of people don't even use the Canadian price anymore. They just use one price, and that tells you how much of a difference in the currency has happened. In the quickest way to get us to that point is by imploding the U.S. dollar, so that we have no stability whatsoever.
And they're clearly
in our
doing
paper
that now.
money.
They're clearly imploding the U.S. dollar. I mean, if you look at I mean, come on, the bailouts, billions and billions of dollars dumped into the economy, like, without even thinking. I mean, this is clearly the roadmap that was followed for the Weimar Republic in pre-World War II Germany, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and we're going down the same path. I mean, good people like Dr. Ron Paul, he's been working very, I should say, he's had a lot of impediments, but he's been trying to get us to go back to a sound currency for a long time. He's just now getting through this audit the Fed situation, which is great. But I think by the time that they audit the Fed and they figure out there is no money, there is no gold in Fort Knox, we own nothing of our country, we don't even own the securities that were toxic, those assets that they sold off to China and all these other countries, they own our debt, they own our property. At any point in time, they're going to be coming and taking that property from us. They can foreclose on the American people and basically take the rug right out from underneath all of us.
George, we've only got a couple minutes left, but I wanted to ask you, you know, are there any final thoughts you want to share with the American people right now about this issue, or tips on taking action?
Absolutely. Number one, now whether or not you can get magazines or you can get DVDs, you need to get your hands on something that exposes this fraud, this North American Union. Number two, you need to get that in places where people in general, whether it's your family, and sometimes your family thinks you're a little bit kooky about these things, but when they start seeing them come to take place, that's when they're going to change their tune. You need to make sure that people have ready access to this material, and you got to do whatever you can to get this information in the public and the community that you're at. Okay, so whether you get magazines, DVDs, even if you take one of our publications online, that free digital version, and just print out pages, whatever you need to do, get that information out there, put them in high traffic locations, and do not stop. This operation doesn't stop with just this week or this month. This is ongoing. This has been happening for decades, and it's not going to stop now. We're coming to a turning point right now. This is the point where the frog, us, can feel the water turning up, and if we don't jump out of it quick, we're going to be cooked.
Well, George, thanks for joining me. Folks, go to republicmagazine.com and grab a stack today. Get your free digital PDF. Anything else, George?
I would just say, you know, hang in there. I know sometimes this road is a difficult road. It's very taxing on someone's life and also on their family. Just realize that we didn't get here. It took us 100 years to get here, so we didn't get here overnight. And it may take us 100 years to fix this. But as long as we all make steps in the right direction, we're going to get back to that place where we need to be. That's going to be the sovereignty of the United States and the sovereignty of each individual American. And I look forward to that day.
All right, so do I, George. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now coming up after the break, Brooke Kelley, independent reporter. She's going to be reporting from the CPAC convention that occurred in Washington, D.C. last week. And of course, we present our picture of the week and some more headlines.